This is lesson 7.5. We are going to be looking at solid figures. So we're going to learn how to classify and represent solid figures. There are some vocabulary words that we have to know for this lesson. The first one is polyhedron. So in your notebook, let's label the page 7.5. And we're going to start by writing the definition for a polyhedron. So a polyhedron is a three-dimensional solid figure made of flat polygon-shaped surfaces. So if we look at this three-dimensional figure here, the blue figure, it's a cube, and it's a polyhedron because it's a three-dimensional shape. It has a length, a width, and a height. So it has three dimensions, and it's made of flat polygon-shaped surfaces. Each of these flat surfaces are a square. So that is what a polyhedron is. Make sure you have this copied into your notebook. The next vocabulary word we have are faces. So I also want you to copy this into your notebook. And faces are the flat polygon-shaped surfaces. So if we look at this cube again, each square would be a face. When I think of a face, I'm thinking of the flat surface where the three-dimensional shape would be able to sit on a table or sit on my hand. A face is going to be one of the flat surfaces. Next, we have an edge. An edge is where the two faces meet. So again, if we look at this cube, I have a square face here, and I have a square face on top. So an edge would be where any of the two faces meet. So it's almost like it's almost like a corner, but don't get confused with this pointed corner because that has its own vocabulary word. But the edge is where those faces meet. So don't think of it as a corner, but think of it as where one face meets another and those two faces overlap. And then the last vocabulary word is going to be vertex. And the vertex is the point where several edges meet. So that is where all, if we look at this purple dot that I'm making, well, we have one edge, two edges, three edges, all meeting at that purple vertex. So the vertex is where several edges meet. Now let's look at the difference between prisms and pyramids. So we have two types of prisms, the rectangular prism and the triangular prism. You may notice that one has the word rectangle in it, one has the word triangle in it. So these prisms have prisms have polygonal faces. That means that they have faces that are shaped like polygons. They also have two identical parallel polygon-shaped bases. So if we look at the triangular prism, here we have a triangle base, and up top we also have a triangular base. That's the biggest difference between a prism and a pyramid. If we go over here now and we look at the triangular pyramid, the triangular pyramid only has one triangular base. And same thing with the rectangular prism. If we look at the rectangular prism has two identical parallel polygon-shaped bases, these two rectangles, while a square pyramid only has one. So that's going to be the main difference between remembering a prism and a pyramid. A pyramid only has one base. What else is important with pyramids? So up here it says the base of a pyramid is the face opposite the vertex where the triangular faces meet. So up top would be the vertex, the base is at the bottom. So now let's look at this, try it. Let's classify the figure. So the first thing I am going to look for is the base. What shape is the base? I'm going to outline it. What shape is that? Is it rectangular, square, or triangular? It is a square. 1, 2, 3, 4. A four-sided base. Now, does this have only one base, or does it have two identical parallel shaped bases? It only has one base, this green square, so that means it would be the square pyramid. Now let's look at example 2. Example 2 has a net. So a net is the plain figure pattern, which when is folded makes a solid. So on this graph paper, we see the top, the bottom, the front, the back, the left, the right, all labeled. So we have to figure out what kind of shape would this figure be. So I'm noticing that if I was to fold this up, the top and the bottom would be opposite, the back and the front would be opposites, the left and the right would be opposites. It is the net of a rectangular prism. I see the rectangular shaped bases or faces, so it would be a rectangular prism. Now let's look at the try it. Let's see, we have to try and identify this figure based on the net. So, what is the shape of the faces? So if we look at the purple net, what are the shape of the faces? The faces are definitely triangular. What is the shape of the base? So this would be the base. The base is also a triangle. So what do you think this would be a net of? If all of the faces are triangular, I'm picturing that we'd be folding up this net and all of these points would meet at the top. So there's only one base there, There's only one base there, and then they would meet up at the top. So it would be a triangular pyramid because there's a triangular base and they would all fold up and meet at the top to be a pyramid. Okay, we're going to try some practice questions here. So let's look at number 5. Number 5, what is the figure? Number 5 would be a triangular pyramid because it has a triangular base and all of the faces meet up at the vertex up top. Okay, looking at number 6, would 6 be a pyramid or a prism? So I'm looking to see, do the faces have opposites? The faces have opposites, so it would be a prism. What kind of prism? It would be a rectangular prism because the bases are rectangles. Now let's look at some nets. So if we look at the net of number 7, I see a base. That would be this yellow box, and it is square shaped, so that's important. And then I'm looking to see, okay, if we fold this all up, is there going to be a parallel square face? No, there's only one square there. So each of these points would meet up at the top to form the vertex. So that tells us that it would be a square pyramid. And then last question here. I'm looking at it. I see 2 triangular faces that are opposites. And then I see 3 rectangles. So I'm already thinking, okay, this is going to be some kind of prism because I have these opposite blue triangular faces. So what kind of prism is it going to be? It will be a triangular prism.